Edge is out. Finn is in. Judgment Day. Paige is leaving the WWE. AEW with yet one more brand new title. And I actually watched Smackdown this week, guys. All that and more right now. It's wrestling with fans. What is good, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrestling with Fans podcast. This is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for fans. From a fan's perspective, my name is Kyle. This is episode 197, but why? And I got a lot to talk about. We are in video form. Shout out to the YouTube crew who are going to be watching this on video. Also, welcome to the audio guys in there who listen to the audio version of the show. We're doing video and audio now going forward each and every week for you guys. Hopefully you are subscribed to us on YouTube and also across all the other social media platforms. I'll run all that stuff down later on. Couple quick hitters. We have a brand new Intercontinental Champion, Gunther. It happened on Smackdown. I'm going to review Smackdown later on in the episode. Speaking of new belts, AEW has a new belt. We're going to talk about that as well. We got Paige leaving the WWE. And also a couple other fun things we'll talk about. All that and more right here on Wrestling with Fans. Let's just... coming back into the studio, and as you can see, guys, I've got things kind of squared away where I want them. I got my lights, got my mic, got my camera set up, got a multicam set up. We'll get to that later on. And as soon as I get things kind of where I want them, I'm gonna do some changes. So later in the fall, there's gonna be a new redesign here. Just some things I want to get done in this office space. Just don't really have the time or the money at the moment. So we're going to do all that stuff later on. Real quick, also, be on the lookout. Coming to YouTube very, very soon. I got to do some editing. We'll get this up for all of you wonderful people. But it is going to be Generation X Funko Pop unboxing. It is a Walmart exclusive. Picked this up last week and go do a little unboxing review. As you know me, I love my Funko Pops. You can see my Funko Pop collection right over here or right up here. Got some new ones up here. Also, one quick announcement. The casting for the WWE Survivor is complete. We have the whole cast done. It has been filmed. It needs to be edited, so that will hopefully go up later this week. And I've talked about it before, but here's the official logo for it. WWE Survivor Blood versus Water. It's a fun cast. It was really fun to record that intro. So make sure you're checking that out when that drops. Like I said, hopefully that should come out later this week. I guess let's start off with the maybe some sad news, I guess. Paige has announced that she will be leaving the WWE effective July 7th, and here is the official statement from Saraya herself. Paige here. July 7th will be the last day with WWE. I'm so thankful and I appreciate the opportunities that the company has given me. I will always be appreciative of the company that took an 18-year-old British pale emo girl that didn't look like your average diva, giving me the chance of a lifetime and making me feel like a superstar. I know after my neck injury taking me out of in-ring status, it was pretty hard to keep me around for as long as you did, and for that, I'm thankful too. Thank you to the WWE Universe. You guys are the most passionate group of fans I've ever seen. Hope you continue to stay on this journey with me. I think the toughest part, weirdly enough, is having to let the Paige name go, but Saraya is hell of a name. Kudos to my mom for that one. FYI, I'm not saying I'll never be in the ring. That day will most certainly come again, whenever that return may be. Thank you, WWE. Saraya with a little heart emoji. So Paige is finally stepping away from WWE. And of course, the big speculation now is, will she become All Elite? It would not shock me to see Paige show up at AEW. She would be a really good pickup for AEW. I also think Impact would be a good landing spot for her. Maybe not as stressful of a working environment there in Impact Wrestling. Who knows? She could even go to Japan, Stardom, something like that. Mexico, who knows? The sky's the limit for Paige, and if she's able to actively compete in the ring again, I hope to see her back in the squared circle, at least one more time. Be nice to see her there, but best wishes to Paige. She's have a couple weeks before her, I'm assuming this is her contract expiring on July 7th, and best wishes to her in her future endeavors, even though she didn't get released, but you know what I mean. You know where I'm going with that. So thank you, Paige. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you down that road one more time. So let's talk, before we jump back into Raw, let's talk about Tuesday, NXT. Apollo Crews, the latest WWE superstar to make a return to the Rainbow brand. It's no longer the Black and Gold brand, unfortunately. Sad face. But the Rainbow brand, and to be perfectly honest, I think this is a great step for Apollo Crews. His first run in NXT was so-so. His run on the main roster was so-so. I would even say was that good. He did have some, high moments and some things like that, but honestly, it was kind of wasted on the main roster as far as, good storylines. It was stuff with Commander Aziz and the whole accent. Take it or leave it. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but I'm sure someone out there enjoyed it. So I'm thinking, a nice refresh for Apollo down at NXT would be good for him. Just look what it's done for Mandy Rose, one of the longest reigning women's champions in that brand's history. She has the Toxic Attraction faction. They're holding all the women's titles at the moment. So hopefully bringing Apollo back down to NXT for a little while will help refreshen him up. Maybe give him a new outlook for a future second run on the main roster. I really enjoyed WWE doing this with some of their talents, taking them back down to NXT, kind of doing a full reset. They're taken out of the mainstream's eye. Of course, we know not as many people watch NXT, and I think even less watch them now than the previous Black and Gold iteration of the brand. But I think, like I said, I think it'll be good for him. He'll get some fresh opponents. He'll be able to maybe come up with another character or another version of Apollo Crews that we've yet to see that will hopefully connect more with the audience, and then we'll see him back on the main roster again down that road. Be nice. Apollo's a very good talent. Really enjoy watching him. So best of luck down on the Black and Gold brand for you there, Mr. Apollo Crews. Let's talk Monday Night Raw. Let's talk Monday Night Raw. There's only one thing I really want to talk about, and that's Judgment Day. So this past Monday, it was announced that WWE, the Judgment Day, was getting a new member. We all, of course, assumed that that was going to be an addition, a fourth member to the faction. What a swerve, bro, that we got there with Damian Priest attacking Edge, saying that he's the one holding them back. And then Finn Balor is now the new leader of Judgment Day. Now, this faction has barely been around. Edge has only been doing this maybe for a month or so, and they've really only been like a cohesive unit for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And the fact that they're making this big of a change up front has me very concerned for the future of the faction. Now, there are some reports from those good old
dirty sheets. Ooh.
Those dirt sheets that this has to do with WWE pitching an idea for Judgment Day to get some type of supernatural element for their faction. And apparently Edge was not a big fan of this, so they decided to move in a different direction with Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, having Edge out, and Finn Balor is now the new head of Judgment Day. I think this, if they are going to go with a supernatural element, having Finn Balor for this, he can transform right into the demon. So that would kind of fit with that, angle that they might try to run with it. However, I'm not a fan of supernatural other than The Undertaker. The Undertaker, to me, is the only one where the supernatural element really worked. Just see some of the other stuff that they've tried in the past. And even look at AEW when Broken Matt Hardy showed up and they did the teleporting. Everybody up into including Matt and Tony Khan have both regretted adding the teleporting and like that supernatural type element to the program. Now, for whatever reason, it worked with The Undertaker. All the supernatural, the lightning bolts, stuff, even Kane with the fire and stuff like that. That to me worked, and I don't know why. You can't really explain why it works for this and not for that. It just worked. We knew it was, smoke and mirrors kind of deal. Not Cody Rhodes, but, smoke and mirrors, Gaga, things like that. But for whatever reason, with Kane and Undertaker, those things really worked, especially with The Undertaker. Now, in today's modern wrestling, I don't think that goes over quite as well as it once did in the past, which is why I think they haven't really used it lately. Even when they had The Fiend, it didn't work. I thought The Fiend character, the concept of The Fiend was great, but the whole supernatural element and the undefeated, unlimited finishers hack was on. It didn't fly. Not with me and not with a lot of other people. And I think that's, part of the reason why I think The Fiend kind of failed as far as in-ring. And that was something I said about him, even going back to the beginning, was the character is awesome. I love the presentation. How does it translate in-ring? And I think that's what you really have to find balance in, is as far as doing these supernatural characters, these out-of-this-world type things, how does it translate to in-ring competition? Because you can do all the gaga and the stuff, when they were in the Thunderdome era, they could do all that crap. And it was, they had no crowd to worry about. But once the crowd came back, that whole supernatural gaga stuff kind of went out the window. And those things really didn't translate well to in-ring competition. So I'm hoping that WWE has something in mind where, A, it will allow the faction to still be taken seriously and not go too far out, in the supernatural realm. And also continue to help the likes of Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. I thought Edge was a great mentor for the two of them. And I just thought the whole idea of Judgment Day was great. I didn't like the name because it was a former pay-per-view name. Or Premium Live Event, as they call them now. But I don't know what they're going to do with Finn. My initial thought, and a lot of people's initial thought, was that this was in direct reaction to Cody Rhodes being out. Of course, I talked about last week in Hell in a Cell. The whole torn pec with Cody. It just looks so nasty. And now he's going to go off and have surgery to get that pectoral muscle repaired. And he's going to be out for months. Some people have speculated, early estimates, that Royal Rumble might be the earliest we could see Cody Rhodes. So when you take out the number one babyface in the entire company, and definitely the number one babyface on Raw, you leave a big hole to fill. And that's what she said. But you already had AJ Styles and Finn Balor, two former world champions. Granted, they are not at the level of someone where Cody was or where Edge is. But I think you could really strap a rocket to Finn and AJ. The crowd loves Finn and AJ. They could have just kind of pushed them to the top of the babyface side on Monday Night Raw. Left Edge, on the heel side as the top heel on Raw. Arguably the top heel in the company, with Roman Reigns going very part-time. Touch on that later. But I think that it was just a knee-jerk reaction. That's my take, and that's what a lot of other people's takes are. But the reports coming from them good old dirty sheets is that this was more Edge didn't want to do supernatural elements in the faction, and I guess, so be it. It is what it is. So hopefully they have something good in mind for Judgment Day. And I guess if you're listening to this the day the show comes out, you'll find out tonight on Monday Night Raw. This is Sunday afternoon as I'm recording the show. All right, let's move on. Let's throw some AEW in here, and then we'll get to the Smackdown review. So AEW announced that we were getting new belts. Another new belt from AEW. Not the trios titles that everybody has speculated were coming. I would love to see trios titles because they have a lot of trios in AEW. But is the All-Atlantic Championship. The All-Atlantic Championship. Now, the problem with this All-Atlantic Championship is the actual belt itself. At least for me, it's the belt itself. Because two of the flags on the main plate are not on the Atlantic Ocean. And that kind of defeats the purpose, I would assume. Plus, it looks exactly like there's a different version of the women's belt. But I have a list. I have my trusty list here on my phone of the current titles that are a part of AEW. All right. We have the AEW title, the TNT title, the women's title, the TBS title, the FTW title, the men Owens belt, the women's Owens belt, and then you have the new All-Atlantic title. The rumored trios titles are still coming. Plus, you have the Ring of Honor Pure title, the Ring of Honor TV title, the Ring of Honor World title, the Ring of Honor Women's title, and the Ring of Honor Tag titles, along with the AAA Tag Team titles. So for those counting at home, that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 championships. That's 14, and then the All-Atlantic will make number 15, and then the trios will be the 16th title for the company if we do end up getting those. So for all of you people who have been complaining, oh, WWE has too many belts, WWE has too many belts, AEW has too many belts. Now, granted, some of them have come from Ring of Honor with the recent acquisition of the company by Tony Khan. However, they are still defending those belts and being recognized as a part of All Elite Wrestling. Therefore, they are considered here. 15 titles for AEW. It's like Oprah Winfrey show. You get a title, you get a title, everybody gets a title. And all the people that were crucifying WWE for their magnitude of championships. There you go. AEW is just as bad. I don't even know what WWE's count is. I'm sure they're probably pretty close if you include all three brands of WWE. And it's not. I'm not trying to be, oh, he's a WWE fanboy. I'm like, no, I think WWE also has too many titles. They need to cut down some of the titles. I like, in my headcanon, you have one world champion that goes wherever in WWE. You have an IC champion for SmackDown, a US champion for Raw. They are your main, weekly champion. They're the ones that are defended every week, like the IC title used to be back in the day. And then the world champion can do a program on one month on Raw, the next month on SmackDown, whatever. You still have the US and IC titles on either brand, kind of representing those brands. And then you have one set of tag team champions that go back and forth. One women's champion that go back and forth. Because realistically, unless you're a champion on those brands, you really don't get much of a storyline. There's so many belts, so little talent as far as roster size going around, that unless you're a champion, you really don't get much of a storyline. So I think something like that, you downsize that. And I would even get rid of the women's titles, to be perfectly honest. Or not the women's tag team titles. Or merge them with the NXT women's titles. You only really need one set of tag team belts. Because there's not that many women tag teams. And most of them are just thrown together women that they don't have anything currently for. So I don't even see the point of having them. But, again, that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. would love to hear your thoughts on the ever-growing number of professional wrestling championship belts, especially with this new one, the All-Atlantic in AEW. So let's get to it, guys. I watched SmackDown. For the first time in a long time. I've watched the entirety of SmackDown. Actually, I take that back. I missed like the first 5 minutes of SmackDown, and then I watched the rest. And to be perfectly honest, I thought SmackDown was a pretty fun show. I legitimately enjoyed Friday Night SmackDown. Now, I missed the intro with Drew and Sheamus in the Money in the Bank qualifier. That match ended up going 12 and a half minutes, ending in a double DQ. Only caught the finish, so I don't really have a lot to comment on. I'm not a big fan of these WDQs in these qualifying matches. I'm assuming they're just going to run it back next week. So it's just an excuse to have a rematch next week on SmackDown. And of course, we know WWE loves their rematches. In the second match of the evening, which I thought was a pretty good match, just didn't give him any time. 2.5 minutes. Xia Li and Lacey Evans for a qualifying match for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Lacey Evans hitting the women's right, and again, picking up the win in just 2.5 minutes. Xia Li was very, very strong in NXT. They've brought her up, really haven't used her much, and the few times they have used her on the main roster, she hasn't been portrayed very well, very short matches. But up next, and the surprise of the night, I'm not going to lie, this was a very big surprise, a pleasant surprise. Ronda comes out to cut a promo. She's interrupted by none other than Miss Pooh Picks herself, Shotzi Blackheart, which leads into a match which, watching in real time, I assumed was just going to be a quick 3-minute match. Of all matches on the card, I figured this would be like a 3-minute match, if even that. And what we got instead was a match that went almost 7.5 minutes, and actually was a pretty good match. Shotzi is still very young, still doesn't have a lot of time in the business. She has more than Ronda Rousey. But Shotzi and Ronda actually put on a pretty decent match. Shotzi getting some offense in of her own, taking some cheat shots, doing the like the head scissors or an armbar over the top rope to the outside. Of course, Ronda ultimately picking up the win in 7.5 minutes, just under 7.5 minutes. But the match was way more competitive than I thought it was going to be, and way more competitive than I think it deserved to be as far as how each woman is portrayed on television. But kudos to giving Shotzi a little shine and getting maybe some of that Ronda dust on her to help maybe elevate her just a little bit. Maybe not a lot, maybe a little bit, but anyway. But as I said at the top of the show, we have a brand new Intercontinental Champion, guys. And I just got to say, this was a really, really good match. On paper, you see someone like Ricochet who's borderline cruiserweight. And then you have someone like Gunther, who is just a massive mountain of man. Gunther is your brand new Intercontinental Champion. The match goes 8.5 minutes. And surprisingly, there was quite a bit of offense by both men. Of course, Walter, or Gunther, I'm still kind of stuck on the Walter thing, but the ring general is now your Intercontinental Champion. A couple big chops. Good match. I mean, a lot of people were upset, when they changed his name from Walter to Gunther. He took it in stride, lost a lot of weight. He has lost a ton of weight. He looks very good, very slim in the ring now. And now he is your Intercontinental Champion, Gunther. And then in the main event, we have Matt Riddle taking on Sami Zayn. Now, if Sami Zayn won this match, Matt Riddle will be barred from SmackDown. However, if Matt Riddle won, he would earn the opportunity to go one-on-one with the Tribal Chief, the head of the table. Acknowledge him. Roman Reigns, your WWE Universal Champion. WWE World Heavyweight Universal Champion. I don't even know what they're calling the belts. He's the WWE and Universal Champions. So, of course, we're going to get Riddle and Roman Reigns. I think it's the next week, I believe. I didn't quite catch that at the end. Riddle does pick up the win in 13 minutes. Good back and forth match. All kinds of shenanigans there at the end. But speaking of the aforementioned Money in the Bank, it takes place July the 2nd. So we're still a few weeks away. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 weeks away. Now, it was originally set to take place in Allegiant Stadium, home of your Las Vegas Raider football team. They haven't really said why, but a lot of people speculate that it has to do with poor ticket sales. It has been moved to the MGM Grand Garden Arena, which has held many, 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 many wrestling events over the years. It is technically, I guess, Paradise, Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. The MGM Grand is a very cool place. I've been there. Not in the actual arena, but I've been in the casino. I love Vegas. I've been there twice. Going to go back again. Jen and I want to go back together again because that's one of the first trips we took together a couple years ago. But right now, there are 4 matches that we are aware of. You have Bianca Belair defending the Raw Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley. You have the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. No participants announced. Of course, the Sheamus Drew McIntyre match went to a WDQ, so therefore neither one's qualified. On the women's Money in the Bank match, we have Lacey Evans and 7 other participants. These are going to be 8-person matches, just for the record if you weren't aware. And Smackdown women's title, Ronda Rousey will be defending against Natalya. Natalya getting involved post-match after Ronda and Shotzi's match on SmackDown. But again, it was a pleasant surprise. Overall, I thought SmackDown was a lot of fun. Apparently only 5,000 in attendance, but you couldn't tell me that there were that few people in that arena that night. Because I thought it was a great show, a lot of fun to watch. And I haven't watched SmackDown in a long time, so it was nice to catch up and actually watch the Blue Brand for a little while. Video crowd one last time. Again, the Survivor casting will drop later this week. Really excited to do that, and then we'll record the full show very soon. But guys, that's going to do it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Once again, my name is Kyle, and this has been Wrestling